Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding the hearing today to evaluate scientific research and development and STEM education initiatives under the America Competes Act authorizations. And I, like you, was pleased to welcome Senator Alexander to today's hearing. It was a good opportunity to discuss the impact that R&D funding has on each of our states and on the U.S. economy overall. I believe it's important to remember our current budget realities and the need to set federal funding priorities in scientific research and continue to improve coordination. And I know that Senator Alexander has worked closely alongside you, Mr. Chairman, and former ranking member Kay Bailey Hutchison on the America Competes Acts of 2007 and 2010, and we appreciate, again, his participation today to provide us with a history of those legislative efforts. The America Competes Acts of 2007 and 2010 have served as the authorizing vehicles for the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Standards and Technology under our committee's jurisdiction, as well as for the Department of Energy Office of Science. The NSF is the primary source of federal funding in fields such as mathematics and computer science. Researchers in my home state of South Dakota, as well as other states represented by members of the committee, benefit from NSF's experimental program to stimulate competitive research, EPSCoR, a program that's aimed at avoiding undue concentration of research in certain states and improving R&D competitiveness and STEM education throughout the United States. Another agency of committee jurisdiction, NIST, carries out its mission of promoting U.S. innovation and industrial competitiveness by supporting research in fields such as engineering and information technology at NIST laboratories in collaboration with private sector industry. The committee has looked to NIST this year with particular interest on the issue of cybersecurity, passing a bipartisan bill earlier this year that would authorize NIST to facilitate the development of a voluntary set of standards and best practices to reduce cyber risk to critical infrastructure. And as we will examine more closely next week when Secretary Pritzker is before us, NIST is also seeking to bridge the gap between cutting-edge research and advanced manufacturing. DOE's Office of Science is the lead federal agency supporting fundamental scientific research for energy and the largest federal supporter of basic research in the physical sciences. DOE, along with NSF, has supported cutting-edge physics research at the world-class Sanford Underground Research Facility in Leeds, South Dakota. At SURF, as we refer to it, as Dr. Perlmutter appreciates more than most, physics researchers are leading the large underground xenon or LUX experiment a mile underground in the former Homestake gold mine in an effort to detect the existence of dark matter. Just last week, researchers announced results from the experiment's first run, indicating that it is the most sensitive and capable dark matter detector in the world and making SURF scientists more likely to discover dark matter than anyone else. The LUX experiments and other experiments at SURF search for answers to some of our most fundamental science questions and present a significant opportunity for U.S. leadership in the area of physical sciences as prioritized by the earlier America Competes Acts. Federal support for basic research reflects a consensus that such research is the foundation for many innovations. Many have argued that closer cooperation among industry, government, and academia could further stimulate innovation, lead to new products and processes, and expand markets for U.S. businesses. Along these lines, while I appreciate the importance of foundational science and basic research, I also look forward to hearing from our witnesses today about ways to improve technology transfer and commercialization of federally funded research, as well as some of the successful discoveries stemming from federal research dollars. Finally, I look forward to hearing from our witnesses about their ideas on how to improve STEM education, as well as their views on the challenges that affect our global competitiveness in the STEM professional fields. Mr. Chairman, thanks again for this hearing. I want to thank those that are going to be on our panels, and we look forward to hearing their insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I want you to know that you are living proof that it is possible to be both brainy and cool. It can happen.
I'm his friend.
Is that for the record?
Yeah, that's for the record. Dr. Tang, could you elaborate on the potential for federally funded research to be conducted by consortia that consists of multiple research institutions with or without industry participation, as opposed to the sort of single institution model that may compete, where they may compete with each other for the same federal funding? What are the potential benefits of a consortium approach, if you will?
Well, the advantages are numerous, Senator. Thank you for the question. We see in Greater Philadelphia the ability to connect resources between universities is one of the differentiating factors that the Science Center brings together through its shareholders. You mentioned with or without industry. I would strongly submit that it has to be with industry. The great inventions that need to come into the marketplace need to be validated by industry. This is one distinct difference in the way we look at applied research and translational research, in that it requires market validation, not peer review, to elevate good ideas. So there's always better strength when you connect the university resources. What we found in our own experience is that often, even within universities, there's not great communication or collaboration, and so we have to be the catalyst that creates that link between them. We also think that our role as a nonprofit serving the interests of academia and industry is vitally important as well. So that intermediary role helps catalyze much more innovation than you would have in the absence.
How can current research grant programs be structured to encourage and better leverage funding from multiple public and private sources, including state and local governments, corporations, and foundations? You talked a little bit about the role that you play in that, but what are the current opportunities and roadblocks for those types of public-private partnerships?
Well, the Science, thank you. The Science Center was formed 50 years ago as a public-private partnership. We continue as one today, and we've had great success in aligning the interests of the city, state, and federal government in funding our programs, because we've been able to show the impact both at a local and a national level. So I think it's a very powerful formula for sustainability of programs, and it perhaps is an alternative to looking at just line items in a budget for single institutions and with single causes. So we're very much in favor of that model.
And what roadblocks to that? I mean, what do you see? What are the things that stand in the way of that happening on a more regular basis?
Well, there's the normal, I think, red tape at the city and the state and the federal level. But I also think that the cultures between academia and industry are quite different. And so you need an organization that can interpret those differences and align them, and that's certainly one of our jobs.
I want to direct this, if I might, to Dr. Perlmutter. In this committee, we routinely, I should say, discuss the need for U.S. global competitiveness and leadership in science. And with DOE's Office of Science, with the National Science Foundation, and support from the state of South Dakota, the United States has established a world-leading underground research facility that I mentioned earlier. We refer to it as SURF, in the former Home State Gold Mine. And my question is, given the worldwide shortage of similar underground storage space, can you describe what scientific frontiers could be explored by leveraging the unique opportunity to pull ahead of global competitors in the fields of high energy and nuclear physics?
It was very, actually, it was quite exciting to see just even last week the announcement of the very first of these big steps forward in the SURF underground lab from the Lux experiment. This, for those who aren't following closely, along with this mystery of what is most of the universe made up of in its energy content, this dark energy, there's also a long-standing mystery of what is most of the ordinary matter of the universe made of, and that's this dark matter question. And so now, in your state, this particular site has pulled ahead as the leading technique, the leading measurement of that in that area. But in the larger question, the SURF is an excellent example of the sort of facility that national resources can build for fundamental research that can be used for many, many different experiments, different purposes, and it's very difficult to do it in any other way than with national resources. Right now, my understanding is that it's in that awkward stage of trying to figure out what's going to happen into the future, because there isn't this long-term perspective in the agencies, and they don't know what their funding profiles are going to be, that they can promise that they should be building up the capabilities of SURF. In principle, you should be able to use it to be at the receiving end of an accelerator experiment that starts over at Fermilab in Illinois, which would be a fascinating experiment to see run. It can also be a site to do other very fundamental physics experiments as well, waiting to see if protons could decay. There's a whole portfolio of questions that you would have assumed that by now we would already be up and running and building if we were able to move more aggressively into the future with our funding and our understanding of what it was that we want to do for fundamental science.
Thank you. And that's some really cool stuff that's going on out there. So my time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.